Welcome to Petrol Revolt. We're here at Langen Motorcycles. We're going to check out the 250 Cafe Racer 2-stroke. We'll chat with Chris and the team and go through the personalisation process if you wanted to spec your Langen 250 Cafe Racer. Go and check out why or how Langen do things differently. So, welcome Chris Ratcliffe. Chris is Mr. Langen. So, where did the Langen come from, Chris?
The Langen was just an old nickname, probably around 15 years or so ago. I was given during a game of football or rugby or something. It's just one of those things that stick. I got introduced to a few people as Langen, and no one knew my real name for a good 3 or 4 years. So, yeah, it just kind of stuck with me. Yeah.
So it must have been one of those nicknames you liked because you carried it through.
Well, I had no choice, did I? So, yeah. It was nice. It was actually it's actually my wife who suggested that the new brand should be called Langen. You know, I wasn't overly keen on putting myself to the forefront. You know, I wanted it all to be about the bike, but actually, it's nice having my name on there, because it instills a bit more pride, I think.
So. You've started up your motorcycle company and you've created quite a unique beast, 2-stroke Cafe Racer sort of styled. Where does that come from? What are your biking passions that led to that machine?
Well, I guess a little bit is from when I first started to ride, and you know, it made such a huge impression on me when I was like 16, 17 years old. I got a little CB100 4-stroke first of all, and you know, that for me was just the freedom of it all. But it was a very simple bike, you know. It was 6-volt electrics, it was cable operated brakes, it was very involving, and it was, you know, so different than driving a car. And you know, then quickly moved on to a TZR 125, and it was like another planet to the CB100. You know, I rode around for 2 weeks without even knowing the power band was there. I was riding it like a 4-stroke, and then, you know, suddenly you know, kind of cracked open the power band. It was just opened up another level of excitement. And you know, again, that bike, it needed riding. You know, you had to connect with it. You had to, you know, as with this is the thing with 2-strokes. You have to understand the engine, how the power was delivered. You got to care for it, some mechanical sympathy for it on cold days. And you know, they're very simple bikes. You know, that bikes now, you know, I'm an development engineer, so I love the electronics that I have on bikes now for certain circumstances. If I'm going touring long distance and I have a big bike, a big 4-stroke, that will eat up the miles and some assistance on there. But actually what I'll just love is opening the garage, throwing a leg over a bike, and you know, almost having just a high-powered bicycle. You know, something really, really simple, but at the same time that you know, what this has over the bikes of old is, you know, quality components, geometry, manufacturing techniques. So it's a bike that performs very well, almost like a race bike, but you're very connected to it. So you know, there's no ABS on there.
So is there a bike in particular that inspired you for this, or is there certain design aspects like power to weight ratio?
Yeah. So there's, you know, certain things driven it. So you know, the 2-stroke engine, not only does it have this sort of characteristic that is sort of raw and pure, but it's the power to weight that it gives. You know, a 22 kilogram engine for 75 horsepower is just incredible. You know, for a 250cc 4-stroke, you've got a 30-40 kilogram engine, and you're running about 15 horsepower, 20 horsepower, something like that. So what the 2-stroke gives you as a base for the bike is fantastic. And you know, I'm a big believer in lightweighting. So you know, every bike I've been involved with in the past, it's always been about lightweight, and you know, it is the secret recipe for a really dynamic performing bike.
Well, it might only be a little 250, but its bhp per ton is pretty much the same as an R6.
Yeah, exactly. It's sport 600 level, but because it's lighter, you can corner so much faster, you can brake so much later, and you get so much more feeling through the bike and much more control. You know, we had to, because it's such a powerful bike for its weight. So we had to be mindful in the early stages that, you know, creating something so lightweight could be at high speed, could get a little bit unstable. So, you know, the geometry of this bike is a longer swing arm, you know, it's got more trail in there than an equivalent bike. So although we started with sort of race bike geometry, we had to soften everything up and change the geometry so that it was nice and stable at 90 mile an hour, 100 mile an hour, while still being flickable around the corners and pretty much quicker than anything else on the road around A and B roads.
So we've got 100 of these being made, and when we were at the show together, I think you'd sold something like 70.
Yeah.
Are you sold out now on the cafe racer?
We're getting closer, yeah. So I mean, since we showed the customer bikes, and you know they're finally getting into production after the last 2 to 3 years of development, I think a lot of people have got more confidence in us now, and yeah, more people placing orders over the past few weeks, which is usually quite quiet over Christmas, but we're been inundated with new inquiries. So yeah, it's good. I'm sure we'll have sold out very soon, and we're just focusing on building the bikes now.
That's very good to hear in a world where most people are suffering difficulties. To actually have orders and be productive is very pleasing to hear. So you spent the last 2 or 3 years developing, so this year for you is quite exciting because you'll be into production now. Yeah. So what are you developing next? There's got to be something to follow the cafe race.
Yeah, well, you know, this is the flagship. I mean, this was, you know, we had to come out with a new brand with a bang and something so radical and different than everything else. So that's what this bike is. But we're not a two-stroke company. We're a motorbike company. We're a British motorbike company. So anything we produce in the future will have the same USPs. You know, we're going to make it as much of the bike as we can in this country, using local suppliers. You know, we're going to use high-end components, running gear, suspension, brakes, you know, lightweight materials. You know, we're going to push the boundaries of manufacturing techniques. But the style of bike that we're going to make next is, we're actually going to do something completely different, just to show the kind of breadth of what we can do, but with all the same USPs. You know, it'll be 2/3 of the way to its nearest competitor. It'll be built in this country or manufactured in this country. It's going to be a 4-stroke. It's not to say we'll never do a 2-stroke again, but you know, we're only making 100 of the Langen 2-stroke. But we'll never rule out making another one in the future. But it'll have to be sufficiently different than this. But in the medium term, we're looking at a 4-stroke. It's a bigger bike, a bigger capacity bike, and a different genre of bike altogether. You know, I've had a lot of good years on a certain bike. I can't say the bike because it'll probably give the game away, but you know, that means a lot to me. And again, it's a bike you just want to jump on and ride. Different characteristics, more power, a bit more weight. But we've got 3 or 4 projects in the pipeline, and you know, although the big 4-stroke's next, you know, you never know, one of the others might overtake it, and they're all equally or, you know, sort of as exciting as this bike as well. You know, we're not making another 600, 500 commuting bike. It's going to be something pretty special.
Can you say anything on timeline of that, when you expect to show a prototype?
Yeah, we would like to show a prototype at the end of this year. How advanced the prototype is, we're not sure yet, so we're trying to progress things. You know, we've got a lot of our energy and resource at the moment focusing on production, so we're expanding the team. We're taking more design engineers, you know, finding the right people for Langen, and as we do that, we can accelerate things a little bit further. But yeah, it'd be nice to show something, maybe you know, the NEC next year, with the prototype. I think it'd be pretty exciting.
Oh, okay, that's really good. It's exciting to see a new British brand launching bikes in Britain, so well done.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you've seen some of the processes, some of the components, and you know how we build things, and we've still got a few build slots left. So if you want to come and have a look at the customisation and the bikes, you know, maybe we can come up with a nice design that'll tempt you.
Well, you do know that I do like the odd 2-strokes. Let's go and see what you can make.
Let's do it.
I'm James. I'm a senior design engineer. Been here for about 1.5 years, and I'm going to run through your configurations today. So before we go into customizations, I'm just going to run through a selection of some customer bikes. Starting off with bike number 5. Standard paint scheme, we've got the gold spoked wheels, bronze Cerakote frame, and the Langan silver paintwork and gold trim. Next up we have bike number 3, a bit more custom than the first bike. He wanted a Rosso Magma finish with a Ferrari stripe and some gold trim. He's also selected the bronze Cerakote frame, gold anodised minions, and gold dialogues. Another custom bike, bike number 14, still under development. Customer himself wants a Kenny Roberts rep. Currently it's got a white frame, yellow bodywork, his racing number, black anodised parts, and gold diamonds. Bike 24 owns a Ducati 996. Wants his bike to replicate similarities within it. So in terms of the colour scheme and the trim, it's been made to look similar. Bike number 43, this one's going over to Las Vegas, where you see the number and logo. He's having gold leaf in place of gold paint or clear lacquer. He's having silver paint scheme, red stitching on his seat, and gold Dimax. Number 44, he's having his number, candy emerald green paintwork, bronze Cerakote, a brown leather seat. 54, this is one of the next bikes to be produced. He's having a Rosso Corsa paint scheme with gold pinstriping, white and carbon negative stripe, and a different style of rear seat unit. 59, already been produced, so he wanted it to replicate a Bell carbon bullet helmet with a checkerboard hand painted weave, blue fade, black frame, gold anodised parts. And finally, another one of our latest customisations. This one's having a monument bronze paint scheme with black Cerakote frame and a different style paint trim in the rear seat unit just to leave the carbon bare. And then we have a final one, made to match a Lamborghini used in Jamiroquai's Cosmic Girl music video. So starting with standard bike, we use the Langen configurator to create a series of configurations dependent on what you'd like. So through this we can change your bodywork colour to whatever you'd like. Change frame colour. Selecting through our options. The colour of the anodising. Type of bars you'd like. Wheels and colour. And then optional extras after that.
Hello, my name's Andrew. I'm a build technician here at Langen Motorcycles, and this is our test bike, number 101, and I'm just carrying out a maintenance inspection on it. We're still carrying out test miles as part of our development program. So we're just looking at some test parts that we're here trying out.
Hi, I'm Dan. I'm one of the build technicians at Langen Motorcycles. This bike is chassis number 59. It's just been through its single vehicle approval and we're just waiting to deliver it to the customer now.
Okay, so when we build the bike, we start with a collection of raw components first of all. So we have the raw aluminium fabricated swing arm here. So this goes through a number of processes. First of all, we have a check jig here that checks all of the different dimensions that are important to get the geometry true and keep all the clearances correct. Then we send this for painting depending on whose bike and what specification it is, with Cerakote or powder coat and all manner of coating. So that goes away to a local paint shop. It comes back ceramic coated. Then we have a bonding jig, and we have an important process in this bike is bonding in all the machine parts. And the reason we bond these parts into the chassis and the swing arm is it's very difficult to control accurately enough the tolerances from the important swing arm point to the important points that affect the geometry on the bike, the suspension pickups, the wheel adjuster points. So what this enables is once the fabrication is done, if there's any movement from here to here, a plus 1 or 2 millimeters tolerance, then we bond these in with an aerospace grade bonding agent, or balloon effectively, and this can change ever so slightly. What it does when it goes in the jig, it means everything is absolutely perfect. Every point, every important point and dimension on the chassis is in the correct place. We also start with, I think there are perhaps 10 or 11 main body components that are made from carbon fibre. So these are the raw parts themselves. And again, each one of these, and we've got lots of these in stock at the moment, and each one of these goes out for total custom painting down in the Midlands. We send them to Dream Machines, so they range from basic colour schemes to more complex colour schemes that you've probably seen that could take up to a couple of months to paint, some airbrushing and pinstriping, and each paint job is really a custom job. So we've got the tailplug there, belly pan, headlight cowl. Everything is anything painted is carbon fibre basically. It's all part of keeping the weight down. The chassis comes with a lot of machined components as well, which in their own right are nice pieces of jewellery. As I mentioned before, we have suspension, so the front end gets built up separately. We have the triple clamps, which again are customised. We have a range of anodising colours for each customer. We build the whole front end up with a different wheel, whether it's wine wheels or Dimag wheels in custom colours, and the K-Tech shocks, which have been specially made for us. And one of the most complex assemblies of the whole bike, and probably the longest development process, was in the fuel tank itself. Carbon fibre fuel tanks are notoriously difficult to produce, but it offers a fantastic weight saving. You know, we can, not only does it look fantastic, but it's really lightweight. We can be more creative with the geometries on there. So this took a lot of development, a lot of iterations. You can see it's quite a complex assembly, and there's many functions in one. So we've seen a collection of parts. Now, to build the bike from start to finish, the assembly of the bike, when all the sub-assemblies are finished and all the parts are painted and coated in colours for each bike, it takes around 2 to 3 days to put the bike together. But actually it takes around 4 months from start to finish, from fabricating the chassis, machining the parts. You know, each tube is CNC bent and laser cut and scalloped, so it all goes together nice and tight and in the correct dimensions. So that takes around 4 months. But we've got lots of stocks of the raw parts now, and we're into customising for each custom build. So you know we've got a few bikes have gone to customers already, and we're looking to ramp up as soon as possible to around 10 bikes per month. As soon as we can, it's all determined by the engine delivery schedule, because the bike comes alive. The bike comes to life around the engine. So when the engines are here, we can receive those around 8 to 10 per month. Then we can start to get them out to customers in time for summertime. So we'll do some riding. So this is the heart of every Langan two-stroke. So each build, this is bike number 20. Each build starts with the engine on the stand. So it's a good opportunity to see the engine outside of the chassis. Although we do try to show as much of the engine as possible, because it really is the beating heart of the bike. But you can see here the engine configuration, the 90-degree V-twin, which is kind of rotated 90 degrees onto its side. You can see the sort of height of the engine here due to the twin rotating crankshafts. So every bike build starts like this, and then we put the bonded chassis on top, and we start to fit out the wiring harness, the radiator, the coolant system, and all the engine systems, and then all of the nice machining, the suspension, the swing arm goes around that. So each engine's CNC machined from solid for each customer. So there's a lot of work. We make a lot of swarf when we make each two-stroke, and then the parts from the shelves over there start to bring the bike to life. It takes around 2 days to build the bike, and then another couple of days to do the testing and the checks and the quality testing around there. Okay, so we've got the next bike to be built. We've got the engine on the stand ready to go, and this is probably 60% of the next bike. It's a bit of a jigsaw. Starting from the bottom, we have the suspension. We've got the Öhlins forks, specially made over in Sweden for this bike. The bike's so light that we have to have some special suspension and damping and springs made, along with the K-Tech suspension as well for the rear shocks. We've got lots of nice goodies and jewellery, lots of machine components here. Got the Hell brake system, which is custom made for our bike as well, then in Exeter by the great guys at Hell. We've actually there's 7 components on this bike that are we use additive manufacturing and special 3D printing process, so we can make more creative shapes in hardware and materials. So we've got things like the chain slipper, little hose guide that no one ever sees. So there are 7 components in total. So this is bike number 20 with all the bodywork up here. It's a paint scheme which is relatively close to the original design. So this is the silver machine, as we call it. Again, some additive manufactured mesh components inside. The picture bonded on. And we've got gold anodized clamps, treble clamps, but the majority of the machining work is left in clear anodized, so you can see all the machining and engineering detail, and we're really proud of it, so we like to show lots of it on each of the bikes. This is the custom switch gear that we made. I mean, we had some supply chain challenges last year, and the switch gear that we originally intended to use on the bike became unavailable or difficult to obtain, so we actually designed our own switch gear and made some improvements along the way. So this is nice CNC machines just down the end of the street here. IP67 rated. So there's lots of lovely components that we build in-house and with local suppliers now. So all of this will come together. Some of these have been sub-assembled already. There's some sub-assemblies, the chassis being made over the other side of the workshop at the moment, just been bonded together. That's been painted, and this will come together once we have all the components in around 2 days with a couple of guys building the bike, and then we go through the testing and PDI inspection before it goes for MSVA testing. So this is the exciting bit. We've been working on each bike for around 4 months, and we'll see a collection of components, and we'll see it coming to life and the paintwork coming to life. But only when it all goes together, you see the finished product. We're always surprised by the finished bike. So all along the way through production, there are multiple stages of inspection and quality assurance, and each sub-assembly and each component goes through its own procedure. But at the end, we have an overall bike PDI. There are a plethora of checks that we go through. But then before the MSVA test, we take it for a few miles of a road test around our local test route. We give a shakedown of the bike, make any final adjustments to the ergonomics or anything like that. And then we perform a mock MSVA test where we do the noise test and do a full inspection of the bike in line with the MSVA standards before it goes down the road to Manchester to have its final registration test.
Hope you enjoyed that factory tour of Langen Motorcycles. If you haven't checked it out already, go and look at our previous test ride where Danny takes the Langen around the Kerber at Sprint Circuit. As always, it really helps us if you can subscribe to our channel, click us a like, head over to the website and have a look at our range of track days. And we'll see you next time on Petrol Revolt.
I've never seen anything like this before. So that is what drew the attention to me for this bike, and I tell you what, it's not failing. The way it rides is incredible, it's like modern day, just like a modern day two-stroke. It's amazing. Got to get a bit of warmth in the tyres.